Morning all, Nimby here. Guess it's almost afternoon. Today we're going to be tying one of my favorite streamer flies, which is a Muddler Minnow. Now, this is probably one of them, some people would argue, one of the more challenging flies that you can tie. It's been a while since I've tied one, but I thoroughly enjoy doing them. They have a lot of good memories for me. Hey Traveler Flies, good to have you in, mate. Doing some Muddler Minnows today. So starting off with 6/0 black uni. One second, get it in camera view there. 6/0 black uni, and then I'm gonna be moving to 6/0 brown for the front. You can use 8/0 for this for this bit, as long as you're careful with the thread wraps for the body. Then you can definitely use. No worries, Valhalla. Good to have you in, man. Yeah, so this is kind of a bit of a special fly for me because it took a long time for me to learn to tie these properly. It's a very challenging fly since it has a lot of pretty much like almost every aspect of a streamer fly tied into one. Normally when you're tying a fly, you'll have one or two bits of the fly that'll be challenging, that kind of teach you an aspect or a discipline. But this one has like half dozen of them all wrapped up into one fly. But we'll go over each one. We're gonna go a little bit slower on this first one. One of the reasons I like this fly too is that it's one of my favorite feathers, which is this mottled Ozark turkey quills. They're exceedingly hard to find now. These ones actually came from Quebec. These ones are a more modern one. If you get lucky, sometimes you can get them more modern. They're quite on the pricey side now, though, just simply because the turkeys that we raise and the turkeys we hunt now, the ones that have been put out into the wild, are your standard turkey with the regular turkey, the regular turkey feathers, turkey tail feathers. These ones are brown, and the meat and the skin was a lot browner. And basically what happened is around the 40s and 50s, well, people wanted white turkeys. They wanted that white butterball looking turkey. I'm talking when you're getting it ready for your oven. So it was a lot similar to people wanting white bread instead of brown bread. The turkey itself would, taste the same. It's still turkey and everything. It was just a slightly different variation of species on it. But that's why these are. Yeah, the wife got it for me for Christmas. Get the whole thing in there. It's a stimulator. I quite like the shirt. Thank you for that. I wore it in another stream the other day. But anyway, I'm gonna ramble about these feathers for a little bit, just because, like I said, they're one of my favorite. I just think they're absolutely gorgeous feathers. They're kind of exceedingly hard to come by now. Like, this was a higher quality match set from Wapsi, and as you can tell, for a match set, they don't really match all that well. Like, they're okay. Hey, there you go. Good for you, Val. I'm proud of you, man. You keep putting the work in, it'll keep coming to you. Where did I put them now? I do have several of these, which are also from Quebec. These are quite old from the... These are quite old from the 70s, but the quality on these ones is exceedingly high. Nice and light color like that, which is good for the mottled look for the muddler's wings and tail. Yeah, I cherish those because you definitely can't buy paired packs like that very easily anymore. So we're going to be using these two, which are the Wapsie variety, a little bit more modern. These guys aren't as old. These ones actually came from my father-in-law. So we're going to be using these ones today for the tail and the wing. You're going to have some smaller stuff on the bottom here. Yeah, they do. They kind of look like a cross between a hawk and like an owl feather, mostly because of the wispy nature that you have on them. But this part here, we're only going to really be using this bottom section for the tails because it's just not strong enough to form a good wing, and in fact, it's not the best to be using even for the tails. But I'm gonna pick off a little bit here just to clean off that little bit of fuzz. But I'm probably gonna save this little bit here, and I'll do up a smaller fly, like on a size. I think what we're using here is a size. What would that be? Maybe a 4. It's an old Mustang hook. I didn't take it right off the box. We want to get a nice clean tail, so we're gonna remove this bottom fluff. It just doesn't have the structure to hold a good tented wing shape. Ugh. Oh, I did forget a key part of this fly, which I'll have to go get, which is a razor blade. But we'll get to that. When we get to that, I'll just run and grab one. I got some in the bathroom. Okay, so for the tail, we're going to want to cut it out basically about the gap height. You can go a little bit shorter on the tail, but they do compress well, so we want to go roughly about the gap height there. I'm going to use my compass to get a good measurement here, just so we get it accurate first go. Again, I'd want to, like, ideally, this one's a little bit damaged up in here, but ideally I'd want to be taking it from this middle portion of the feathers where you're going to get your best wings. For the top wings, this side here is going to give you the better top wings. That's your flight side. This is the side where the next feather would push against it. That's why it's a little bit fluffier on the edges. So you're going to get your best tails and wings, especially on the flight side of the feather. Let's just see how close I was. Nice, okay, I was like smack on with that, so. Now, one of the easier ways to cut these off, since you're going to have a razor blade handy, is to actually hold it like this. Pinch between the two so you have a gap, and you pinch between the gaps so you're holding both. And then you can run your razor blade along there to cut it out. That's the way I normally do it. Like I said, I was getting everything set up today and I forgot my razor blade, so we'll have to go and get that in a minute. But that's kind of for the last step of the fly, which is the fun part. So I can take a break at that point, and 1 second, let me get this right way around. There we go. I'm just going to be cutting this out right to that notch. I'm just going to pull it down a hair here just to get us that notch to cut to. And hold both of them and then cut up. And what this will do is once we cut to the right spot, we're not going to drop. Sorry, I don't think it'll right in frame there. There we go. Once we cut to the right spot, I'm not going to drop the slip or the feather. They're both going to be still in my hand. Now I can take the feather away and I still have the slip. And vice versa. There's our first tail slip. We'll cut our second one from here now. We want to take it from the same side, so this side. Again, I'm going to be taking off. This side is a lot more wispy, so I'm actually going to have to work quite a ways up here. That's unfortunate. That's okay. It is what it is. So in order to get a proper tail, I'm going to have to go all the way up to here. But I can save this here for some smaller muddlers, like if I'm doing size 8s, 10s, 12s, that kind of thing. I do like actually tying these quite small for creeks and such. I'm going to pull that off. I can still use this and I can trim. It doesn't really matter on that small of a fly if it's got a perfect end on it, so I can just trim off this wispy bit and still make a handful of tails out of that. It'll not gonna waste it because, like I said, these feathers are pretty hard to come by now. Not that the birds are extinct or anything, or even endangered. They're just drastically outnumbered by the other turkeys now. Okay, we're gonna take our I got that right. Am I using the wrong side now? 1 second. Second guessing myself. I am. Okay. That's okay. We can save that part for the wing. I would have had to do the same thing for the wing. This is the side here we need to do, so I'm actually gonna... Yeah. Okay, my bad. I had the wing torn down, but I would have had to do that anyway for the next part for the wing, so all good. Hey K-Fish Bro, we're doing some Muddler Minnows today, one of my favorite patterns. These have a lot of go-back meaning for me. My fly tying mentor always said these were one of the more difficult flies to tie, and if you could master tying these, then you could tie almost any other pattern. And he was probably right, because they have a lot of, especially for classic fly patterns, they have a lot of different skills that you need to put all together to make it work. So, there we go. I am busting out some of my more rare materials for this fly too. They're generally not something you can just walk into a fly shop and walk out with all the time. If you're lucky, you can. But you're gonna have to be lucky. Now that being said, there's a lot of substitutes that work just as well. I like my traditionalness, you know. I like to try and tie them as traditional as I can. But that being said, there's a lot of different substitutes you can make. One of those would be the female version of pheasant hen. So you can use a pheasant hen wing for this, and it has pretty close to the same coloration without as much modeling to it, but it definitely will work fine, especially on smaller sizes. It actually, in some cases, it'll even tie in a lot better. Okay. We got our two wings married together there. We don't want to crush them together too much, but we want them to be lined up like that. I'm pretty happy with that lineup. They're about the right size. And again, it's not perfectly ideal because it's got a little bit of fuzz on there, but if you're going to have that in any part of the fly, the tail's where you can kind of get away with it. We want to have a third free up top here, so I stop my thread wraps. This is where we're going to spin all the deer hair. And then, sorry, not a third, a quarter. And then 3/4 this way. So we want to have the tail 3/4 coming out. So just like that. Some people like a little bit longer tail, but that's the traditional pattern. The traditional pattern was tied in 1950. Was tied by Don Gappin from Nipigon, Ontario. Okay, so I'm going to take a thread wrap up. I'm doing a pinch wrap on this. So that means my thread's going to be perfectly loose. I'm going to come down on this side of it. And the key to get it is you get your thread in the same spot as where you came up from. That helps more than any other part of it. Keeping it pinched against the shank, and then just pulling straight down. And you gotta crush all of those feather things, keep them in between your fingers, and let the thread pull them all the way to the shank. And that felt pretty good. I'm gonna get one more light pinch wrap in here, and we'll get 3 wraps to hold it in place so we can let go. That'll hold our tension. This side here curled a bit on me, so we'll see what it's like when I let go. And we did her. Good job. Okay. Well, that's the first part done. So it takes a good bit of practice to crunch a quill wing like that as a tail and keep it bopped up like that to create that rear fin. But the majority of it really is just trusting your placement. You can see he's just smack right on top there. Didn't curl. I'm extremely happy with that. Placement really couldn't have went much better for me. Some people will leave this on and help it build up the body a bit. If it was a little longer, I would, since I'm starting right at the bottom of the quill. Like once you move up into the use part up here, you're gonna have, as you can tell, long enough to reach that quarter point. But it's only gonna be halfway, and I'll end up with a lump there, so I'm gonna be trimming that off. But yeah, traditionally you would build the body up with that just a little bit, but since we're at the bottom of the quill, I'm gonna clean that up. Then we'll move on to the body. The body is a tinsel. Yeah, like, I'm not trying to exaggerate things at all here, but each step of this fly is challenging. There's not really an easy part of this fly. It's not a hard fly if you're learning to tie each piece. And you once you get one of the pieces and you move on to the next, it's not so bad, but tying them consistently and tying them well is almost a lost art. It's kind of like quill wings for like, you might get some tires that are, decent at quill wings. They can make a nice like Royal Coachman or what have you. But a lot of the more modern patterns don't use these skills anymore, and they're really handy. Like even though you're not tying flies that use these skills, they're really handy to have in your arsenal because they teach you really good thread control. You have to pick in order to get stuff to. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I honestly tied probably close to at least 60 of these things before I was really happy with kind of where I was sitting with them. Okay, so there we go. I'm just going to be adding a little bit of thread. And this is one of the reasons you can use an 8/0 back here. And it doesn't matter what thread you use. Actually, typically I'd be using a 6/0 in brown. Yeah, they're a fun challenge, right? They keep you on your toes. So for this one, I'm just gonna go like right up classic, and we're gonna dig out some of my really old French tinsel. So just give me a second here. Yeah, here we go. Okay. Just being careful with them there. They're much older than I am. And they're actually from France. They're like proper, like when I say uni French, that's a type of tinsel. But these are probably date back to the 20s, if not a little older. I don't have an actual date on them, but still really cool to have some older material like this. So the first one we're going to tie in is this, which is basically like a uni French ribbon. It's just flattened. And that's going to be our chase. Actually, do I have a thinner one? This one's... One second, I might have a slightly thinner one. Well, we'll go with it. I think that one will work. Good, yeah. Good for you, mate. Okay, this one's a little damaged, so I'm going to have to cut some off, unfortunately. This one's older too, not quite as older. This one's probably more from like the 50s. Yeah, just seeing which one I want to use here. So once these are gone, these are gone. Not gonna be able to get more. They're kind of, this one's a little on the bigger side. This one's flattened just because it's been on the spool for so long. See, it's almost, it does have a core inside of it. It's supposed to be semi-round, like oval, but it's been on the spool for so long. And it's so soft, it probably has lead in it, I would think. So I'll wash my hands after, but it has some substantial weight to it for what's on there. So I'm assuming there's going to be lead mixed in. That's pretty common with materials from that age. Okay, so we're going to use this one. It's just a hair smaller than the other. And I'm just going to do this for the first fly, just for my own nostalgic purposes. I'm going to try and gauge that so I'm not wasting a lot of material here. You can still get this stuff on eBay if you're really lucky. Sometimes they'll... Yeah, I've been collecting for a while. The majority of my material actually came from my father-in-law. After he passed away, he gave me his stuff. But a lot of these older materials I've gotten from other fly tyers who have passed away that have left their material for auction. So sometimes you can get lucky on like an eBay auction or that kind of thing. But you can find these for sale. There was one gentleman that like specializes in this vintage salmon fly material, and I wish I could remember his site. I have it bookmarked. But he specializes in really high-end old vintage material. But you pay for it, of course. I'm just really gently tying this in. This stuff's probably close to 100 years old. I'm not sure how structurally sound it is, so we're just going to be gentle with it. It feels good to me. It's nice and flexible, surprisingly. Once I'm done tying with this too, what I'll typically do with these, because they do oxidize, this one's actually gold plated, which doesn't oxidize. That's why it's nice and shiny. On the underside, a lot of times you'll get oxidation. You can use like a jeweler's cloth or just a little polished cloth and just give it a rub, either right now as you're putting it before you put it on the fly or after. And it'll just take that little layer of oxidation off and bring that shine back. It'll look like new. This stuff you have to be careful with because it's actual tin. And it'll cut your thread and it'll cut your thread and it'll cause all sorts of problems. It's actually not that. I enjoy it for the vintage purposes, but as far as a tying material goes, it's kind of brutal. It's a little on the sharp side. It's kind of like tying with a cut off pop can. The next couple we do are going to be a lot quicker. I'll go through the procedures with the more modern stuff, but for kicks and giggles, I'd like to do the first one with this really old stuff just so you guys can see what it's like. Hey Ron, aloha mate. Sorry Ron, didn't see you pop in there. Oh, okay, I just made a big mistake there. Hopefully that's not going to be a problem. You got to be careful not to kink this stuff because it'll work harden. I'm trying to straighten it without adding too much of a twist into it. That's better. Just like when you're playing with the, there we go. That's better. Just gotta be careful because it's sharp. Just like you're playing with like the ribbon on a balloon, you know, when you're curling it. Doing the same thing, just opposite. Okay, so now we're gonna tie this in. Oh, actually, I did that wrong. I'm tying it in the other way. So we're gonna go down and then back up, and then we're gonna chase it with that first one I tied in. So the first one I tied in is like a rib. I'm gonna use regular uni French for that when we get to that point. I want to tie this in on my side just so I can see it and control it a little better. And adding this material will add a little bit of thickness to the body, because you don't want to have it paper thin, but you don't want to have it too thick either. I'm just going to really gently wrap this up. Hey, K-Fish. Hey, good to have you in, mate. We're doing some super classic vintage muddlers today. Kind of a little bit up your alley with that kind of thing. I'm using some of my oldest and most expensive materials for these ones, just for you guys for kind of a New Year's thing. And these are one of my favorite patterns because they have a lot of meaning for myself. Because it was a huge challenge for me to learn to tie these. But it's been a good day so far. I'm feeling good about this one. I haven't tied one of these in probably about 6 or 8 months, so. As we're going up here, I'm going to let this curl over a little bit. Normally I wouldn't, but I want to have it coming out on a bit of an angle just because it's so sharp when I do my first wrap. So I'm letting it curl around the hook a little bit so that it's kind of coming out on the opposite side here, and that'll help me with my first corner so I don't end up with a real sharp edge on the tinsel. So yeah, this is like proper tin lead gold-plated tinsel from France. This stuff's probably from the 50s. The other stuff's, I want to say, at least like 1910, 1920. Okay, we're just going to really gently, I'm going to hand wrap this too. I'm not going to bother with the rotary. We're going all the way down and then all the way back again. Just touching turns. And then once we get this wrapped in here, it'll have a lot different look to it than the modern one. We're going to be using modern materials for the next one. And it'll have a lot more of a classic bronze look to it than the modern tinsel. But we'll be able to compare the two once we got two of them together. I haven't done a modern and a vintage one like this side by side for a good while, so I'm kind of excited for that. Okay, we're gonna bring this right up to that butt, and I hope I got enough to go back. I was being a little stingy on these material because, like I said, this is all I got. Probably should have cut off another inch, but we're gonna go as quick as we can with it. This part was a little bit deeper on the spool. It's not as oxidized either, so it's coming over a little bit shinier, which is nice. It has a very kind of grippy texture to it, which is good. You can also put a whiff of head cement, which in hindsight I probably should have done to hold it in place, but since this is a metal tinsel, not a... Oh good, I'm gonna make it. Okay. I'm just gonna hold that there and get a... fight to get my hackle pliers here. Since it is a metal tinsel and not a mylar, it'll hold its shape. If you let go, it'll spring a little bit like a spring, but you're not going to lose the whole thing. It kind of work hardens a bit. But you do have to be careful with your thread. Ooh, see? Oh, there you go. Let's save that little nib there. Don't have the heart to throw it away. But I work hardened it just by moving it with my hackle pliers there. Yeah, I've seen some of these vintage tinsels go for well over $100 a roll for just a couple yards, so. That's probably like $8 worth of tinsel there. But it's okay. That's what we got it for, right? It needs to turn into a fly at some point. I'm just gonna gently, yeah, I gotta be so gentle with the stuff. There's a little bit of a burr right there, but I think we're good. This stuff feels so weird. It's almost like, it's metal, but it has a cord in the middle of it, so it's uni-French. But it's so soft. It feels like, you know, those type of chains that you get for neck chains that are done up like a snake scale pattern, and they're like super flexible. It feels like that. It feels like it shouldn't move, but it does. You know, it feels like it's definitely metal. Okay, so we went, just trying to remember the last wrap direction we did that way, so we'll go this way. It almost feels wrong in the fingers. This should give us a nice gold rib here. I do my best to just kind of eyeball it. Hopefully it's not going all cattywampus on your guys' side here. Oh, I appreciate it. I appreciate everyone that spends time with me. Your guys' time is the most important thing you have, and if you spend some of it with me, that means a lot to me. It really does. Money's one thing, but time's something we only all have so much of. Whew, okay, got it. And I'll save that little bit. It's so weird. I wish I could describe how that feels a little better. It almost feels like butter, like it's just incredibly soft. But it's still strong at the same time, like it feels like it just wants to melt in your fingers. So it must have a fairly high lead content, I would think, or something else. That's probably not amazing for my body. Okay, there we go. I'm just gonna throw a half hitch in there, and I'm gonna throw just a whiff of head cement on that back spot just to hold that in place. This is not gonna be a fishing fly. I can tie other ones that I can fish with. This is gonna be something I'll keep in my box. Or if the stream goes really well, maybe I'll give it away at the end of the stream here. Or for New Year's stream, we could do that too. But this would be something I would keep in my box just for looks. Okay, so the next part, we're just gonna let that dry a second here. Like I said, I'm not gonna be spinning through. This is also a vintage Mustang hook from probably the 70s, judging by the boxes I was taking it out of, because they didn't use the red printing they used between the 72 and 81 in there. So it's going to be in that range. The next part of the fly, and again, it's another material that I really love tying with, but it can be such a pain, is gray squirrel. So again, I got some Wapsie gray squirrel, but I got stacks and stacks of squirrel tail. Yeah, I'm really happy with how she's looking so far. I hope she turns out proper, and I make my mentor proud. Who wants their character change? K-Fish, what are you, K-Fish? I can. I'm not sure if I can. I can't do it during a stream, but if you tell me what you want, I can change it after. I got hundreds of little dudes. I was thinking of actually customizing them for my regulars that come in. I can change the color. I can change the animal. What do you got right now? Oh, you're some sort of pink. I think you're like a sheepdog or something. I have to look up what that one is. I haven't had that one come up for a while. I think it's a sheepdog. Okay, so I'm going to be taking kind of for the middle here. I've been taking a bit from before. Oh yeah, you want a lizard? I can do a lizard for you, sure. There's some pretty cool little lizards in there. I just can't do it while I'm running the stream, I don't think, unless I do it with actual commands. I have to code it in there, and I have to animate the character and everything. But I will definitely do that for you. If anyone else wants, that's a regular in here, wants their character changed, I think, Run got the... Yeah, and you guys get random hats too. I think I have the hats on randomize. But there's only like 6 or 7 hats. I gotta make some more hats. Yeah, so I'm just getting out some squirrel tail here. I'm gonna be taking out probably twice as much as I need just so I can thin it out. Trying to get a really nice chunk out of the middle here. This is a beautiful squirrel tail too. It's probably one of the nicest ones I have. And I got dozens of squirrel tail. This one's just beautiful. Ties really well. Again, with the whole difficulty of this fly, squirrel tail for a wing is hard to tie in because it's just super slippy. But yeah, K-Fish, I'll do you up some kind of cute lizard. Yeah, and Glacier Shark always seems to get the otter, which I think is fitting because he's always out on the ocean. I could probably do him up as a shark too, but it wouldn't make a lot of sense being on the ground. But I could do that. Hey, don't mind me, I'm just cleaning this up. So Glacier Shark, we're doing some Muddler Minnows. Yeah, I don't know what K-Fish got there. I'd have to look. I'm assuming it's some kind of... It looks kind of like a sheepdog to me, but like I said, I haven't seen that one pop up, so I'd have to check. Yeah, it does. No, it's it actually records. It records everyone's usernames, and it actually gives you guys money to spend too. You guys actually have cash, like stream cash, like my own kind of little tokens and everything that you can spend on hats and other things, but I don't have all that set up yet. And I'm not really planning on going that direction anyway, but it's just built into the software. The main reason I have the software is for giveaways. I want to do, it has a lot of games you guys can play on their screen, so you can do like a battle royale. So instead of just randomizing everyone's names. Yeah. So we got some squirrel tail here. I want this to land kind of right in the middle, and this is the underwing. So the purpose of this is to, because the wings get beat up pretty quickly. Like, they'll look really pretty until you get them in the water. But they still work really effective when they're beat up. But this is the support for the wing, so that's why it's called an underwing. So the actual feather wing's going to sit on this afterwards. And I want it to be kind of mid-tail there. Now, squirrel is notoriously slippy, so I'm gonna actually see if I can grab my rosin here. Make my life a little easier. I don't know if I got enough tension to actually get enough rosin on there, but we're gonna try. Okay, so I'm gonna do the same thing. We're gonna do a light wrap up and bring it down. Alright, no worries, Glacier Shark. Thanks for popping in, mate. I appreciate it. I'll throw a picture of this up on the community page so you can have a boo at it after. And I'm just going to tighten that right down. I want this to be on top of the hook. I don't want it to be sliding under or to roll. So we're going to do 2 soft wraps on it, and then 3 to hold it in place. And I'm just going to make sure I got that up on top of the hook. Okay, this is where we trust ourselves and pull it away. Yeah, I'm happy with that. That actually landed pretty good. Okay, so now I got to tie that in. And you got to tie this in with pretty tight wraps going back. And it'll force your wraps forward. Then we can cut that off on a 45 fairly close. I need to have bare hook up front here to spin the last part of the deer hair, or it's not going to spin properly. Sorry, just give me a moment. I don't really have that tied in 100% yet, so I want to make sure I don't make it slip on me. I got it right where I want it. Okay, I might have to do this in 2 pieces then. So we're just going to be cutting this on a 45, kind of a really tight 45 though. You can pre-trim this a bit, but I find that you get... Oh, lots, yeah, I've loved steelhead flies. I haven't done it in a while. I got all my steelhead stuff in a different box because it's kind of its own animal. I've dug out some of the stuff for a few flies, like the one fly I made Ewas had some of my polar bear hair and stuff like that in it, and some more rare steelhead material. Yeah, I'm actually just starting my streamer section. I'm going through, like, there is some method to my madness for what I tie when I pick, so I'm gonna be getting into the steelhead streamers shortly here. So probably mid-January or so we'll be hitting all the steelhead stuff. Which I know is kind of like the wrong time of year, but I do have a plan for what patterns I want to tie. Some days I just... Oh yeah, that's exactly what I'm here for, mate. Like, if you want to learn how to do a pattern, just let me know. And if I haven't tied the pattern before, then I'll probably tie a dozen of them or so first, just to get the feel of, you know, where you might have problems and where you might need some help. And then I'll move from there. Okay. I am just a little bit crowding my eye more than I want to there. Not that I'm crowding the eye, I got lots of hook left there, but I would like to have maybe another like 2 millimeters on there to spin the hair. I think we'll be okay. I just have a couple squirrel fibers that aren't playing ball that I want to get rid of. I can't have them on there because the hair won't spin proper. That's really important that I keep that clear. I think that's good. I haven't done any hair spinning in a bit either, so. I'd like to. I don't do Discord though, mate. But I don't mind doing. Oh, it's K-Fish asking. No, yeah, man. I don't mind doing a duel with you one night while you're tying. We can do whatever you want. I've been meaning to ask you about that anyway. Sorry, for some reason I thought it was Trevor that was talking to me. I wasn't looking up. Okay, so we got that part in. Now we're going to tie the wing. The wing's going to be tied in this little section here. Or I'll use my bodkin so I can point a little better. So the wing's going to land right here and get tied into here. So basically I have 2 bodkin widths to tie it in. And then my first batch of collar hair is going to land right here. And my first spin is going to land here. Got just enough kind of bare hook to get my first head spin in. On this size of hook too, some people would probably do up to 3 spin wraps, but we're going to try with just the collar, and the 1 is the more traditional style. But you could do up to 3 bunches at that point there. So yeah, we got the wing in nice. Now let's get our other wing going. Okay, so we want to take it from the flight side of the wing feather, which is the more curved bit. As you can see, hopefully you can see that one side of them is a little flatter than the other, and the other one curves more. The other way you can tell too is it's typically the way that the major rachis arcs. It's going to be towards the arc. So I do have some damage up here because these are quite old. But I'll be taken from this section right there, so I think we'll be good. And there's a little bit of damage right there that might cause me some trouble. But we gotta work with what we got, so. But yeah, when I get more into like the steelhead streamer or classic stuff, if you want to do a joint stream and work on the same pattern together, even different patterns, whatever you want to do, I don't mind. I'd like to play with that whole collaboration option that they added in, just to see how it works and everything, you know. Would have to do one of your late streams when I'm off work. So I'm normally just getting off work as you're kind of firing things up. Okay, so that'll be our overwing. This one is a little damaged there, eh? I think I'm gonna actually move up. I'm gonna cut this one off and we'll save it for our next fly, because it's gonna be the same size hook. But I want this one to be as pretty as possible, so let's cut that damage out and I'll get another one slip going here. But you know, for the modern one, it's fine. We can save that one for the modern one. These aren't perfectly matched quills. Like they should be for the price that was on the tin, but they're not. Okay, so I'm just using some a compass here. If you don't have a compass, you can use just the hook itself. Do I have an extra hook kicking around here? One second. Before I cut that off, I'll just show you the hook trick. Because you're always going to have that. You're not always going to have a compass with you. And I have just one more of these vintage mustags left that we're going to do our next one on. So this should be the same size as the hook that's in the vise there. So what we can do with that is we can use that as our measure. I'll just check, see if I got that in camera. Yeah, there you go. So you can see I'm measuring that to the hook gap. So I can use the hook itself to actually pull out my quill sizes. And then they're going to be consistent. And that's going to be a big part of you getting a nice quill wing. It's having consistent size on either side. So however you do it, you can also just use your scissors. If you got some stiffer scissors too, you can use your scissors and you can measure the gap height like this with your scissors, and then just hold them in, bring them up, and just measure on the feather, and that'll work as well. I did that. Actually, that was the first way I did that for many years, until I realized, like, hey, I'm actually using the hook gap to measure. Why don't I use the hook gap? It's like kind of a bit of an epiphany moment. It's like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. I can just use the hook gap. So there we got a nice, like, brown mottled. I like this, like, the darker brown mottled color for the top wing. I think it just looks better, because with most of these bait fish, you're going to have that color change from dark to light, you know, from top to bottom. So okay, unfortunately this one doesn't have the same kind of mottledness, and if we go up to where we took the other quill out, there's this damage here. So I'm going to shoot for, or if I should go above the damage or not. It's still kind of flaky up there. Let's see how far up I'd have to go. Yeah, you know what? That's probably roughly where I want to be anyway. Okay, let's try that then. Not that you couldn't use this, but you can see there it's quite creased bad. Probably from packaging more than anything. It doesn't look like a preening. Sometimes you'll get damage from the bird preening itself, but in this case it looks like they just, the way they shoved it in the package, it just tore like that and probably sat like that for 10 years. This is a more modern one, but it's at least 10 years old, because it was in my father-in-law's tying material when he passed away. Okay, so we're gonna pull that out. It's the same thing as last time. We're gonna grab our compass. I lost one band at the bottom there, but that's fine. That's exactly what this measuring device is for, so we get the right even amount. There you go. Yeah, I'm getting close to that 1K mark. That makes me happy too. Then I'm not like huge on the numbers, but like everyone else, they make me happy to see them go up. And I've always been shooting for that 1K 4,000 watch hour mark. The watch hours has been a bit frustrating lately, because I've had I'm kind of rolling backwards, so it's kind of like a fight in the treadmill. Because I've had a lot of successful videos last year this time that had like 300 or 400 watch hours each, and they tick off backwards because it's a running total of your last 365 days. So I got like right up to the 4,000 mark, and then boop boop. You'll get her, mate. I think we got you a good, what, 10 or so the other day, didn't we? Oh yeah, K-Fish or anyone else that's in here that hasn't dropped a sub to Trip there, feel free to do that. He just needs a couple subs so he can start doing his live streams up for fishing. And we got him a good, I think we got you about 10 or so subs yesterday. So yeah, if there's anyone in here that's watching that hasn't subbed Trip, let me know. You want to sub him, I'll even make you a mod, so you can jump over and sub him easy if that's what you want. Just give me a holler in the chat there and I'll mod you up so you can go sub Trip. It's really important that we all support each other in that way. Okay, so I want this to land. I like to have mine very symmetrical. You will get people, and there's nothing wrong with tying it this way, but you will get people tying them in pointing up like this. I just find they last longer and they cast better. And in my opinion, they just look better when they're like this. Great, thanks K-Fish Pro, I appreciate that. That first 50 subs is a bear. It takes a lot of effort to get that. Okay, so we're just going to put this in. Now, one thing I like to do differently on these wings than I do on a lot of my quill wings is I'll grab them more on this side on the top, leave the bottom open. You can see that, hopefully you can see that it's tented open like that. And I want to have it sitting kind of on the hook, so it's tenting over top of the squirrel tail, so you can see like that, so it's making like a loop. It doesn't have to be crazy over, just a little bit, because once it's finished you can push down on it and you can do what's called tenting the wing. Cool. I'm glad you guys are giving him a little hand there. I appreciate that. He should be able to work the rest of them out himself there once he gets a few videos going. We want to give him a hand up, not a handout, right? We're all here to help each other. Okay, so the most important thing with this wing part here is that I'm bringing it right down to the same point where I left off. So my thread leaving and going up is returning in the same spot. If you're cockeyed, it's going to pull your wing down cockeyed. It's going to look horrible. So that's one of the more important things. The other important thing is that you're pulling straight down. Okay, you got to just trust yourself, keep everything clenched in. Don't let it slip. Bring it right down. I did feel it slip a little bit there. Dang it. Well, we'll see how bad that was. Try one more soft wrap here. I did feel it slip on my fingers a bit though. I'm going to go into a little bit about how to do quill wings here properly like that and what you're actually trying to do. It was a real thing for me to wrap my head around when I was a younger tyer. Oh, okay, that's not too bad. I just got to adjust the wings. It did slip on me, but it just separated the wings a little bit, mostly because of that damage on that one wing that I pointed out. But now I can do what's called tenting the wing, and that's getting it on either side. And to tent the wing, you really just push down right about here. Just gently tap it a few times, and that'll open it up. Okay, beauty. Oh, yeah, I'm happy with that. That went well. Okay. There you go. Ha, still got it. I haven't tied one of these in, like I said, about 8 months. So it's been a bit. That's kind of one of the harder steps is getting this wing on straight and proper. Well, each step has its own challenge. That's the one thing about this fly. To get a nice, like, it takes a lot of practice to get a nice smooth foil body like that too. The first bunch you do are going to look all jaggedy and bumpety, and you know, it takes a little bit to understand the little minute mistakes that you're making that are causing the body to just go all cattywampus. Yeah, I'm really happy with that. Like I said, these are some of my older materials, so I really want this fly to turn out nice. I'm sure there's some fly tyer somewhere that passed away that I got his stuff. He's sitting down there smiling on me right now. And that thought makes me happy. Because this would have been exactly what he would have been tying with those materials. And this would have been this was like the game changer, the zoo cougar. This was the fly that changed a huge section of fly fishing and fly tying when this came out. Like this, in its day, this was the fly. It became really popular around Montana and just kind of took off from there. And it works a treat up here in BC because we got those little bullhead minnows everywhere. In most of our streams and rivers and lakes. So the bigger trout will key in on this thing. That's exactly what they love feeding on. If they can get them. They're squirrely little things. I'll do a quick little turn here. I'm going to keep my thread on just so you guys can see both sides. I love that kind of mottled turkey color on this side. I wish both wings had that color on it, but I'll take what I can get. That makes me happy. I try. Yeah, interior BC. Like if you threw a dart at BC, I'm kind of smack in the middle of the board, out in the middle of nowhere. We're pretty much off grid. Like I have a paved road close to my house and electricity running into it, but we're pretty much off grid besides that. And I would go. I have solar for all my my outbuildings and shops. To have enough solar here, though, I'd have to save up quite a bit of money and have a decent sized system because we just don't get the power. Sorry to go on a bit of a tangent there, but I know everyone's always interested in the whole off-grid living thing. But with about 600 watts of solar in this time of year in the winter, I can't even keep my batteries charged on float. Oh, you got a 5-weight? Yeah, sure, mate. I'll try and find a way to get in touch with you. Do you need to like tie backing and make a tippet and all that fun stuff? I was actually planning on making a video next week on that. Because I got a bunch of, I got a whole stack, about 15, I got about 15 floating fly lines I want to give away that are all ready to go. The whole tariff thing honestly just threw me a loop. So I got two things of deer hair here. I haven't used this one. It's a new, as you can tell. There's nothing cut out of it, but it feels like it would be a good hair to me, and it's got a nice lighter. Like it doesn't have a very stiff transition. This one's similar. It's a little more on the gray side. This one's an Appalachian whitetail, and it's not as long, but it's definitely long enough to get my muddler head going. So I'm gonna try. I like this one for collars and such, just because it is so uniform color. So I think I'm gonna save that because with the muddler, we want this little bit of a transition in color. You can see how it gets a little bit of darker up by the tips there, and that's kind of what I'm shooting for. So I'm gonna try this one first. Yeah, thank you. I'm really happy with it so far. Hopefully you guys don't mind me taking my time on this, because like I said, I really want this to turn out well. And it's been a bit. After I do 5 or 6 of these, I'll be able to whip them off like right quick. Especially with the more modern materials, I can go way faster. I don't have to be nearly as gentle. Okay, so that's gonna be about double what I need. I want like a pencil width. So I'm gonna be cutting off about like that. Now I already got some stacked here. That is one thing I did that was ahead of the game. Yeah, the squirrel tail is really cool, and it's specifically tied with that gray squirrel tail. You can use red if that's what you have. For coloration, like personally, I like the red coloration the way it looks. The reason that they use the gray is to have that fluff of white out there. So when the fish is looking at it from the bottom, it gets that white, so it looks more like that white body, and it gets the shine from the gold. So that'll help imitate the the bottom of a little bait fish, right? Because they always have a shinier, lighter colored tummy on them. So that's the reason that they use the gray squirrel there. But honestly, the red squirrel looks really sweet too. So if you only got red squirrel, from a fly tier's eye, I think the red squirrel looks better. But traditionally, it's gray to give you that kind of white undershot. Okay, so I've already cleaned this out. I did this ahead of time just because this hair, both of these whitetails I have were harvested in the middle of winter, and they're incredibly thick for the underfur, so it takes a lot of cleaning. Okay, so this is actually going to be a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. Okay, so this is going to be... this one actually might be... Okay, so I'm going to talk my way through this before I actually do it, just so you guys can have an idea what I'm trying to do, because it's going to be a little bit hard for me to do it as I'm doing it, because I have to do this, I have to commit to it and kind of do it in one motion. So you want to have it coming up to about mid feather here, like right where the hump is, for your length. And you want the points to be going back. This is going to create a spun collar all the way around it. Okay. Now, when we spin deer hair, you want to get your first 2 wraps on there just super soft. So like they're touching it, they're adding tension to it, but they're not pushing down on it. And then after you get your 2 wraps on your 3rd wrap, you'll let go and it'll condense down and spin. And that's where we spin the deer hair. Now, with this specific style of collar on this fly, however, I have to start above it. So I'm going to be starting it like right here. I'm going to get the wraps on it. But then just before I pull to add tension, I'm going to push it down. I'm going to use the head of the fly head here just to demonstrate, but it's going to be more back on this part of the hook here. But I'm going to sink it down as I pull so that it's in the middle. Hopefully you can see that, in the middle of the hook. And then I'm going to torque it down, and then it'll actually spin completely around. The other method of doing this is to break this in half, and this works perfectly fine too. You can do it this way. You break this in half, so you got 2 chunks. You tie 1 chunk on top. You do those 2 soft wraps. Tonk it hard. It won't spin because you'll increase your wrap tension each time. So the first wrap you have is nice and soft. The second wrap you have has a little bit more tension, so the hair is starting to flare. The 3rd wrap you just give her and just pull hard, and it'll stay right on top and it'll flare out. Then you do the same thing, spin the hook around, and then do the other side on the bottom. So that's another way to do it. I'm going to attempt to get this to spin completely around in one go. It's a lot harder. I haven't done it in a good while, and we're just going to give her, and hopefully I'll get her done. So I'm going to get it right in there. Now, the key for spinning it and to get it down is I have to hang on to this part of the fly, the wing and the body, and brace it, because I got to pull really hard on this, almost to the point of breaking the thread, but obviously not breaking it. And I don't want to have all that weight bending this down and pulling my wing and everything else out of place. So it's a little bit of a jiggle, because I also have to let this loosen and spin at the same time. It's easier to do than it's to say. And that's why a lot of people will do this in 2 goes instead of 1. But I did practice this for a long time and I was able to get it, so we're gonna give her a try here. See if I can still do this. And that's all to do with the feeling in your fingers, the feeling of the tension on your thread, and your thread placement where your thread's landing on that bottom side of the hook. And this is obviously the kind of thing you want to do on live stream that you haven't practiced in like a year. Okay, so now I got those 2, and the weight of the bobbin is like max what you want on there. Now that I got those 2 in there, you can see this is on top now. So now what I want to do is I want to just gently sink this down. And you can do that by just pushing it with your finger, and you'll feel the hook. You'll feel it on the inside. And it's kind of like packing a snowball with a stick in the middle. It's kind of the feel you want to go for. Okay, so this is the 3rd wrap. I got to do this all in one go. One motion, just trust myself. We should have a nice collar if it works out. No, not one motion. Come on, Nimby, you can do this. Keep hitting my bobbin holder. Okay, ready? There we go, beauty. Yeah, that turned out pretty good. I need to get 3 wraps on here without trapping too many of the fibers, and then I need to push it back and get 1 wrap in front. Oh, but just looking at it, yeah, good. Okay, it looks like it spun all the way around. It's a feel thing. You really got to just practice at that. There's no way for me to just explain to you how that's going to feel when you do it. and you're gonna mess up. You're gonna mess up a bunch of them. So the best thing to do when you're practicing that part of it is to just do it on a bare hook. Just throw some peacock or whatever. Just make a quick body out of some wool or something, just so you have your tie-off points. Make a little fake head, and just do this over and over. And you can restack this a few times before you really damage the deer hair. So you can do this a few times before it's damaged too much that you can't spin it again. You'll basically end up cutting a lot of these. But yeah, overall I'm happy with that. Turned out pretty good. So what I want to do now is just, do I have a thing? I think this is going to be too small. I forgot my stacker too. Yeah, you're too small. Let's see what I got here that I can use. 1 second, guys. Yeah, you might work. Alright, so I'm just going to use a big pen, taking this part out. I had a crystal, like those big crystals. I don't think I have it over here anymore, do I? The big crystals are a little bit on the tighter side, and they actually work kind of perfect for this for most of the fly sizes I tie. This is a little bit on the bigger side, but the big crystals go down to a bit of a finer point, and you know, the clear bics that we've seen forever, they work a treat for this. The nice thing you do is get some hockey tape, spin some hockey tape just like you would a hockey stick, so you got some grip to push against. But what we want to do is work it in there. You do little spirals as you come up to it. You can generally get most of the hair to bugger off a little bit. There we go. Nope, didn't get it. There we go. So you can see how it pushes it all back like that. You can get special tools at the fly shop to do this, but they're basically just pieces of plastic with a hole in them. They do work well though, but for the price, I mean, I've never not been able to do this with a pen. And the nice thing about the pen too is I can work my thread up here. I gotta remember to keep the tension on this because I can unspin this. I only have 3 wraps holding this whole thing together. But I can get my thread up and wrap it on the thing and use it like a half-hitch tool basically to get a few wraps in front, and it'll hold it there, see? So that's the benefit of using a pen over those. If you Google them, I don't have a picture of one. I probably should have stuff like that prepared for the stream, but they look like almost a plastic fist, and it has like a hole in it, kind of like between your fingers would be here, and you use it just to pack the hair in. And like, I'm not saying they're useless or anything. They're far from it. They're nice to have, but they're pricey, and all they are is a piece of plastic. So you can make your own. I've used plastic straws. I've used all sorts of things. You can get something, drill a hole into it. You know, you can do lots of different things. Okay, I'm gonna pack that back a little bit more. Now we're not gonna cut this yet. I'm gonna spin the next section, and then we're gonna trim our head up. There's 2 ways to do this head. I'm doing the more traditional way. When he originally tied these, he barely trimmed the heads. Like, he left them round and fluffy, not this fluffy, but like he would trim them, but just really briefly. So I'm just gonna feel for that head here, pull these back a bit. I just want to get some thread wraps in there. You want to be light on your thread. I made a little bit of a thread head there, more than I would have liked to, because I want that. Preferably, you can still do it on thread, but it spins so much nicer if you have a little bit of a bare shank there. But I did get a few thread wraps that I wish was maybe about half a bodkin width, closer to this deer hair. It's still doable. I'm just gonna make it a little harder on myself. But that's all good. We'll get there. So far, this is looking great. Okay, so this next part, do I have it kicking around here? If I'm just tying something like a, where'd you go? I had a film canister here with all my cutoffs. Huh. Maybe I might have put it away. I don't use it too often. Is that it? Yeah, I thought I pulled it back out for this, but I guess I didn't. Anyway, it's basically just a film canister. You all know what a film canister looks like, so a little tube like this. Whenever I'm making elk hair caddis's or anything else where I'm going to be trimming all this off, and I trim it off in a nice chunk about yay big, I just save that, put it into the film canister until it's full. They don't have to be lined up or mixed or anything because you can take them out and then restack them, and that makes the perfect material for this middle part because you have to cut off the tips anyway. That always just seems wasteful to me because I'm using the tips somewhere else, right? So I'll do it in reverse and I'll save them and use the tips on the flies that I need the tips and not the bases, and then use the bases on the flies that I'm spinning where I don't need the tips, and vice versa. I can feel some damage in this one, so I might have to do some cleaning up. Yeah, there's something in there that's broken. I can feel it catching my finger. That's good. Hopefully it won't cause us too much trouble. So when you're cutting off pieces for this, you're going to want what we refer to as a pencil. So it's going to feel like, before you pack it down, because you can squish deer hair, so if it's light in your fingers, it'll feel like the width of a pen or a pencil. That's kind of what you're going for your average spin. If you're tying this on a smaller fly, of course, just reduce that a little bit. If you have too much in there, it'll spin and everything, but it'll be very lumpy and it won't travel properly around the hook. Okay, the other key thing for all of this is to make sure your deer hair is right clean. You got to get rid of all of this underfluff because that'll stop you from spinning the hair. It'll lock it together like Velcro, and it'll just end up lumping up. Yeah, I'm happy with it so far. I have to admit to some trepidation when I started this morning. Even though I've tied probably hundreds of these, it's I don't know, a personal pride thing. I wanted to make sure it was a nice fly. I have a lot of older mentors that have passed away that took a lot of pride in how they tied these, so I try to do the same thing. And there's gobs of different ways that people tie these. The way I'm doing it here, I'm trying to be as close to traditional as I can. His original pattern was actually completely different than this, but this is the original pattern that became famous, that people started, you know, filling up boxes in fly shops and stuff with in the 60s and 50s. His original pattern actually used wolf and llama and other stuff. And he didn't trim the head very well at all. He just really roughly trimmed it so it looked more like a marshmallow. But of course, now we make them look pretty. We do that nice muddler. We do that nice muddler shaped head, which we're going to do in a minute here. Okay, so I'm just dropping these in my stacker. I'm pretty sure I got them cleaned out enough. I'll know by how they stack in here too. Some people will get you to, when you're cleaning out your hair, I'm just going to use this patch here because I don't want to do it on that part that I pulled out. Some people will tell you to clean out all your underfur by just stripping it like that. Either direction, pulling out the underfur with your fingers. It's faster that way. The downside of doing it that way and especially if you're a new tire, this will frustrate you to no end, is every time you stroke it, you're adding positive charge to it. So you're going to create a lot of static electricity pretty quickly. You can kind of middle ground it by holding it and flicking it back and forth with your finger. That way you're adding positive and negative charge at the same time back and forth, so it doesn't get as bad, but it will still get staticky. You can use Scotch guard, you can have some anti-static dryer sheets around too that'll help. But I find the best thing to do is just not create the static in the first place. Alright, unfortunately we're going to take this beautiful stacked hair and we're going to cut the tips off, and then we're going to restack it again from the cut tips. We shouldn't have to stack it too bad because it should be fairly straight, but we want to cut off this brown section here and the tips, which is, you know, kind of hurts my soul a little bit because that could have made a really nice compare done or something. But again, that is the pattern. Although I do try to save all the materials I can't save everything. It is just a little fluff of deer hair after all. Okay, so we got them cut off nice here. I'm going to restack it again. Yep, as it goes everywhere. Come on, buddy. That's the whole static thing I was just talking about. It starts to stick to your fingers and all the surfaces more than it should. And this fly is going to make a mess of your desk, so just be ready for it and get a broom when you're done. There's nothing you can do to stop it, even having a wastebasket underneath you. It's not going to matter. They're going to float all over the place. But I think it's worth it in the end. So I'm just restacking these. Now we should have some nice cut ends. There we go. We got a few little wispy broken bits at the bottom, but that's fine. We'll get those out in a sec. There we are. So we want to have that kind of clean, well, depending on your whitetail, gray to brown. You know, we want to have it. I'm just doing one stack here, like I was saying. On some of these bigger hooks, if you want a bigger muddler head, or just depending on the size of your hair, you could do several stacks to make a really, really thick head. I've seen some people go up to 3 stacks, which I think is really overkill. You can really just do it even with what we have on here, if you had a thicker base. So I want to be putting this in here, and I'm going to be putting it on an angle, and I'm going to be having it so that it's halfway to where my nice collar is for the hair there, for the back collar. So not this white stuff that's sticking up, but the nice fur that's showing there. So I want it halfway. The other one reason for that is, I know the bottom's gonna be sticking out longer, but what I want to do is I want to have it so I can separate these two when I'm cleaning it up, so I know where that starts and where that stops. There's another technique we're going to do on the next one that's a little bit different, that we would actually trim all this white off first before we stack, and we'd stack twice. And if you do it that way, you end up with a really nice tight head up to the collar. It looks better, it's a little easier to shape. Again, this is the more traditional, this is what they would have done all the way up to the probably late 80s. But the other way you can do it is to trim that off, clean it up, and then do your 2 stacks in front of it. So we're going to do the same thing we did last time with the spin. We're going to push it right into the head. And I'm going to switch fingers. I'm actually going to switch fingers now. Just try my luck here. Okay, so one of the more important things that I always forget, and a lot of people forget at this point, is to get their thread in the right spot. You want to have it on that bare, whatever you got for bare shank there. So it's right in the middle of, I'm not sure if the camera can see it or not, but I'll point it out with the bodkin. You want it right in the middle of where your head is and the back there, so it'll spin, and the thread should allow it to spin on that bare shank. It will still spin on a thread body, but not nearly as nicely. Okay, I'm just going to repack this here. You want it to be pencil-like, so you want it to kind of pack it up like a snowball. Okay, now I'm gonna hold it back here with this finger. I do have a lot more of that fur bulging out the bottom. That's not ideal. Be nice if it stayed in its own lane, but it's not going to. But that's okay. Problem with catching that other fern is it's already tied in place, so it's not going to spin, and it'll stop my spin in about one spin or half a spin in some cases. Okay, here we go. Just gotta get my thread up so it's ready to pull and go up. If I had dumbbell eyes on this, I would actually pull down and towards the hook point and hold on to the dumbbell eyes, so I could pull away from them, and I would spin it behind the dumbbell eyes and then do the same thing, pulling forward in front of the dumbbell eyes. Okay, here we go. There we go. Yeah, that's spun enough. That'll be fine. There we go. I got a nice big ball there now. So we're gonna do the same thing with the pencil. You can see that these are. You can see some of the shorter ones there, but they're shorter than where I'm going to be cutting, so it's not going to matter. They're all going to get trimmed off. But the point of the shorter ones here, and that's why we were aiming for the middle of that hackle, or I guess it's kind of like hackle, but the fur up here, is that'll act as a little bit of a gauge for us, because as we're cutting through, we'll see where those short ones are, and that's our first kind of couple passes. We want to keep it about that height, and then we keep going less and less and less and less, and more and more and more off of the... Okay, we can just wiggle this back. And we're just trying to free the head here. A slightly smaller opening in my pen. I don't have anything that size on hand, but that would have been better. We're just going to slowly pack that back. I'm going to try and pin it back with my fingers. There we go. Thanks, mate. And if you can master this fly, I mean this encompasses, like, besides having a hackle on it, it's got so many other aspects that are so helpful for your tying. This helped me with so many other patterns. But yeah, I'm quite happy with that. You can see how it's all staying back now. So I'm just gonna make like a small thread dam up here just so that it doesn't split forward anymore. Most of this fur up top's just gonna get roasted right away anyway. My dog's being a toot. I think you can probably hear him. There we go. Okay. One of the harder parts of this fly, actually, once you get to this point, is just getting a whip finish on it. Hey, good for you. I like small bait fish like perch stuff. That's fun, because perch stuff's fun, because you get all the bright colors and everything with it, eh? Okay, so, again, it's really hard to whip finish this without tying some of those in there. That's not going to end the day or anything, it's just going to... Cool. Sorry, Tyler, I'm just trying to concentrate on this parter. Okay, so what I normally do is do 1 1/2 hitch, do 2 1/2 hitches. These are just 1 wrap 1/2 hitches. Because this is holding back a lot of the tension that's holding all that fur together. So these knots are very important. If you don't get these in there, it's going to cause all sorts of problems. So we got 2 regular half hitches. Now the third one, I'm going to wrap this twice, okay? See that? So it's got 2 wraps on it. So I'm going to do that again just so you can see. So once around, so we got 1 half hitch, 2 half hitches, okay? So we got 2 wraps on that one. This is going to be a lot harder to pull down. And then you want to rock it back and forth so that knot seats. Okay. Then I want to do a third one, and this one has 3 wraps in it. Okay, this is the equivalent of doing a whip finish. 2, 3. So I got 3 on there now. Now the third one can be a real bugger to get to seat properly sometimes because it's a little bit on the long side. So once you get it tightened like that, grab the thread, not so much your bobbin, because you can feel it through the thread and you'll feel it click over. You'll feel it tighten as you're going back and forth. And once you got it tight like that, then you're good. Okay, you don't need to do a whip finish on this. I'm going to just to demonstrate, but that is perfectly fine. That will hold it together. You'll have a little dab of head cement on there. But I've had hundreds of muddler minnows tied with those half hitches and they've never come undone. But that being said, we're still going to try and get our whip finish in there. It's just, as you can tell, not the easiest thing to land with that much fluff around. But we're going to attempt it anyway. Oh, already got 1 piece in there. Come on, buddy. Pop out of there. And that's why I like to just do the half hitches, because you'll generally always get some, at least one of those sticking out in there. But either way, it's the same knot in essence. One is just over and over again. Every time you twist the half hitch spool, it is in essence the same thing. So let's get you guys out of the way. Did I trap all 3 of you? Really? I thought I didn't. Might have. Let's see if I can rock them out. I don't think I did. It doesn't look like I did. Okay, they're just being pains in the butts. That's fine. We'll remove you. Okay. So that's pretty much done. I need to go get my razor blade here, so I'll be back in a second. We'll just put just a whiff of head cement on there for now. I don't normally do that until after I'm done cutting, but since I'm stepping away for a second here anyway, it'll probably tack up by the time I get back. I'll only be a second though. I just gotta run and get a new razor blade. A fresh one makes this so much nicer. That my dog wants to go outside again. It's been really cold out, so he hasn't been able to run around as much as he'd like to. We warmed up now, but we were like minus 28 for a day there, and it really got cold. Okay, she's a bushy one. There you go. So the fun part now, although extremely messy, is to trim this guy up now. And most of the trimming is going to be done with the razor blade, and the trick is to take actually a lot less off than you think you're going to, and just work your way down. And I'm just working these guys forward so we can. You also don't want to cut into that last rotation of pulled my wing apart there. Dang it. Stay, buddy. Come on. So close to being a pretty little muddler. We want to get you all together here. I'd like to do some, because I really like spinning deer hair. It's just messy as all get out. But I'd like to do some nice crappie bass bugs for you guys, like some really nice colorful divers and stuff. They're super fun to tie. They're lengthy though. I mean, a lot of times I'll put an hour or more into one of them, depending how many color combinations and the pattern and stuff I'm going for. Okay, actually, before I get the razor blade, we're just gonna come through here and hand trim this a little bit, because this is way too. Oh man, my new shirt is gonna be just absolutely covered in deer hair. Let's see if I can get my wastebasket underneath, but it always seems to land everywhere but your wastebasket. I'm just getting rid of this super long excess stuff. You can see the fly a little better once this is done. You can definitely do all your trimming. Like for a long time, I did all my trimming with scissors, so you can for sure. Man, I'm gonna look like a sprinkled cake after this. But she's looking good. I'm happy with that. She's looking real good. You know, I might actually just skip the whole razor blade and just go at it with scissors here. The razor blade is nice because you can get the angles really easily. Yeah, I'm quite happy with it so far. So traditionally they have a much smaller head on them than kind of what you're going to see in the fly shops. Oh, I'm just covered in this hair now. But so we're going for that traditional kind of slim head look. And I like to have a smaller head on the bottom and a wider head on the top, even though that's not so traditional. I'm going to try and get this fairly symmetrical to keep with the traditional look. But personally, I like to have a flat bottom on my muddlers because the little sculpins that they are representing have a nice little flat profile to them. They're kind of like a squished fish. They have a nice little flat chin on them. I'm just going to go through here, see how close we can get with the scissors. And I'm looking for those thin, when we first wrapped it, that one section I put in, I can see it's here, it's this gray. So I'm looking for that section because that's kind of where I want the main color to end on the highest point, is halfway up. You can always bring it down. It's always better to have it slightly bigger than what you need because you can't put it back on after. But that's what I'm looking for, is those gray short fibers that we tied in. A lot of people like to trim these in their hand too, so if you want to give that a go, feel free. Now I'm going to be trimming this front section on like a 45 here as I spin it around. We're just going to slowly work our way towards our desired angle. The nice thing about the razor blade is you can curve it and round it and then just push it up and it'll cut this work kind of in half for you. It gives you a really nice smooth angle and just kind of pops the... You do have to be careful. It's really easy to cut way too far with just a small sneeze or something. There we go. So now we got that kind of rounded look. That's what I go for first. So this is almost exactly what he would have fished it like. He would have just roughly rounded this and left it at that, like a big poofy marshmallow on the front. I've seen some pictures of his original pattern. There's actually a few fly shops that still have some of his original muddlers. And they look just like this. But more traditional, we're going to taper that front a little more and neaten this up a little bit more. But yeah, this is kind of exactly the way he would have originally fished it. And I can see why he was going for this, because it would move a lot of water. It's going to pop really nice. And they would have tied in more lead wraps to have this sinking too. You can definitely lead this fly, because most of the sculpins are going to be in the bottom, hence their shape. And especially if you're fishing it in a creek or a stream where there's going to be a good bit of current. Okay, so that's really basic. So the main part you just want to pay attention to there is that you're not trimming off all this nice spun. Yeah, you don't want to trim all this, the nice ends off. But you can see on this, there's a definite separation between the puffed up head and that hackle bit. And that is the traditional pattern, but there's a few other combinations that you can... Yeah. Yeah, no, bass would nail this thing for sure. If it was for a bass, I'd probably throw some more color in, like use some red squirrel tail or something, because they like to have that colorful contrast. Or hell, even like chartreuse or something crazy. You could tie these in any colors too, right? I've always wanted to tie these in blue, actually. I've always wanted to see if that would work, even though it's not like a proper color pattern for them. Another trick that a lot of people do is they'll rest their scissors on their hook eye and cut up on an angle like this, just to give them that more torpedoed head look. And that helps guide you. It can be hard to pay attention to what you're doing here. This is something you really got to pay attention to while you're doing it. If you take just the smallest amount too much off in one area, you're going to make a bald patch, and it's just going to look... all that work will go for nothing. So just go really slow and pay attention to where you're clipping, because you can't put it back on, but you can always clip more than once. I'm getting where I want it to be now. I'm concentrating more on this front bit. I got the back bit where I want. If I was production tying these or tying them for myself to fish with, I would have just came in here, I would have clipped it off real quick in a circle like that, so it was like a marshmallow. And then I would do this, just do one round like this, just at that 45 to angle it off. And I would have called it good. Like I said, I'm trying to make this one on the prettier side, but still keeping that kind of traditional lumpy face pattern here. I don't know how else to describe it. It's more lumpy, like a marshmallow. And he had a very differentiated head from that collar. if you tie it the way we're going to tie the next one, the collar and the head will mesh together real nice, and they'll almost look like one piece. And I do prefer that look. I think it's much more aesthetically pleasing. But again, for this one, I'm going for the traditional vintage look. And the story goes that he was tying this by the Nippon River next to his gas lantern. In the middle of the night, there was no hatches going on. He was trying to make a sculpin pattern because there wasn't anything hatching, and he was going to try and make a bait fish for night fishing. And he tied the whole thing by a lantern. And I could just imagine how frustrating that would have been. Or the level of skill that he had to do that. Yeah, we're getting really close to being done here. I'm quite happy with the way that's looking now. Okay. So the last part, and this is not traditional, and this scares me every time, so... Okay. Last part is to burn this with a lighter. And you gotta be so careful because it's all flammable. But you just want to kiss the ends of these and it'll make them darker. It'll flare them up and seal them so they'll float longer and better. And it'll just give it a more tighter, better look. But it's always a part that has me on edge, so. Okay, here we go. Just covering the more vital parts with my fingers here. And you're just kind of wafting the flame in. Oh, okay. Hopefully you guys can see that. That'll kind of even things out and give you that. That's the type of muddler head. That's perfect. That's exactly what I was going for. That brushy, bulbous, fat, toasted marshmallow. I am so happy with that one. That turned out so good. Alright, hopefully you guys enjoyed that as much as I did. I know it's taken a while. But there you go. That's traditional, super classic. As classic as I can get at Muddler. Yeah. It's hard because you can see, I don't know if you guys can see that, how quickly that deer hair melts. It's pretty quick. If you get it just a little too close for too long, it'll just like almost shrink up like plastic. But it gives it that, hopefully you can see it there, it gives it that really nice kind of toasted marshmallow look and seals the ends up real nice. So it's worth the effort, I think, anyway. And like traditionally they have a much bigger chin on them. If I'm tying these for my own box, I'd basically just cut this almost flat, like a little bit of a wedge. But yeah, traditionally he would have that nice big thick head, and he'd have just the point, just the eye sticking out like that. Yeah, I'm super happy with that. I don't think I could have done a whole lot much better job than that. Really happy with how that turned out. Okay, so that's it. That's done. That's the whole thing. Let's see how many we got here. We got 28 people in here. So, what we'll do here is we'll do I was gonna try and do this on New Year's, but since everyone's actually in the stream, what I'll need you guys to do is actually just say hi, say nice, fly, say something, doesn't matter. You just gotta talk in the chat, so you have your little avatar up for me. Anyone that would like to win this fly, I can send it off in the mail to you. Just need you to chat in the chat there for me, so you got your little dude up. If we don't get anyone getting in there, I'm just gonna skip it, and we'll do this as a giveaway for the next for New Year's. But since you guys were hanging out this whole time, there we go. Okay, we got K-Fish Pro in there. We got Traveler Flies in there. That's it, just 3. Come on, man. We got 28 people here. No one want this? Really? Only 2 of you? Okay. That's fine by me. Okay, we got Run too. Good, at least we got 3. There's 28 of you in the chat there a minute ago. Okay, I'm gonna give everyone a few seconds here. Anyone that wants in on that, we're gonna do a battle in the chat here, so it'll be fun for you guys anyway. No one else? I'll give you 15 more seconds, okay? Hey, no one else? You're welcome to join in. All you gotta do is say hi in the chat, get a little character, and you're good to go. Last call. We got K-Fish, we got Run. We got my island friend in. Nobody else? Tyler, you don't want to jump on it? That's okay. As long as you just need your character in there, that's all, mate. Okay, ready? Okay, I guess if that's all we got, that's all we got. Okay, you guys are gonna battle each other. Whoever wins, we're gonna send the fly to, okay? Oh, come on, do it for me. Oh, there we go, it is working. Okay, here we go, guys. Let's see who wins. We're gonna do a Fortnite battle royale. Everyone's gonna fight each other. If I win, then the fly's gonna get pushed off till the 1st, and we'll auction it then. So you got little health bars there. See who wins. It also drops health back, so you can actually get a boost in health. Oh, someone died. Was that Run? I think no, Run's there. That was David. Oh, Run's left. Come on, Run. Oh, Run, get the. Oh, come on. Oh, I got the health pack. Sorry, Run. Oh, you can still get the other health pack. Oh, I'm sorry, Run. Okay, we'll save it for the 1st. Then maybe there'll be some more people. Woohoo! I got money that I can't spend on anything. Anyway, that was fun. Sorry, Ron, you almost got her. I gotta stick to my things, so I'll just pass it off. If you guys join in here on the 1st, we'll or on New Year's Eve, we'll auction this off, one or the other. Maybe we'll get a few more people in here too. Not that I really care how many people are in it, but that was the whole idea of the little avatars anyway, so I can do little games and stuff like that. We can do boss battles and all sorts of things. Yeah, it was kind of the thing. It was just supposed to be a fun way to randomize, giveaways and stuff without having to write everyone's name down and do the whole, random website deal like everyone does. Okay, I'm gonna do my spin and spiel here. Excuse me. I'll be right back with you guys. We don't have to put any head cement on there because we already got. Did I put head cement? I'm pretty sure I put head cement on there. Yeah, I did. Okay, there we have a classic Muddler Minnow tied on a size 4 hook. It has a vintage molted turkey wing for the tail and for the wing on top. It has a squirrel underwing and gray squirrel. It has a vintage gold tinsel chased in with some actual French uni tinsel, or not uni tinsel, just regular French vintage tinsel. It's almost 100 years old. And a collar of whitetail. This is from the Appalachian Mountains whitetail for the head and the collar. This is as traditional a pattern as I can get for this fly, and I'm really happy with the way it turned out. We're going to auction this fly off or give it away on our stream either New Year's Eve or New Year's Day. We'll see how it goes. We didn't have any luck with the auction off today. But yeah, join us then and you guys can jump in on the giveaway. What a wonderful, awesome little vintage fly. Super happy with how that turned out. Hey Yoshi. Sorry mate, you just missed our little, well, almost giveaway. I won my own fly, so we're going to move it on to the next day. So you want to pop in on either New Year's Eve or New Year's. We'll get that all done up for you, and everyone can jump in and we can do another battle and see who wins. Run almost got it though. He just had to grab that health back. Hey, water fox flies, you're new. Good to have you in, mate. Got like a little kinship spirit and fly tying there. I'm gonna go check your channel out right now. There you go. Okay, I subbed you, water fox flies. Got you almost up to 10 there. You're getting there. You guys want to have another battle for kicks and giggles? Just say yes in the chat there, and I'll just throw another one up. We can have another battle, so Yoshi can join in. Yeah, there's a more involved boss battle where you can actually like pick your RPG class, like what have you. All right, let's do another one here, just for practice, because that was the first one I ran. This will just be a fun one. See who gets this. Hey, water fox, you're a cute little rat. I like that. Or a mouse. You're probably a mouse. You have pretty big wiggers. Okay, let's see who wins this one. I don't know if there's any commands you guys can type for the Battle Royale, but there's definitely commands you can type it for the other events. I haven't played with them all yet. I gotta set a bunch of them up. There you go. My money's on Yoshi because he's got the big kicky legs. Ah, sorry, Trip. We just started a little battle there. Oh, Travel Flies might actually win because he's all the way over in the corner. That's a strategy. He's going to hide and come in and just kick butt when everyone's health is low. Oh, come on, Yoshi. Oh, we almost had, there you go. Hey, I called it. No, you still got to get Traveler Flies. It says you won, though. There you go, Yoshi. Good job, mate. Yeah, I'll have to do that more often. That's fun. I'll have to set up a bunch of other games. You can play like basketball and volleyball and different things. Okay, I know we only got the one fly in today, and I want to do a couple other patterns on it, but that took a lot out of my eyeballs, so I'm going to take a break here and enjoy my tea. If you guys have any questions, comments, accusations, throw them in the chat there, and we can talk about it before we go. You have any questions on the fly or any of the procedures there? Just shoot. I'm really happy with how that one turned out. This guy's about as thick a boy as I can send through the mail, but he'll still go. But yeah, he'd be good for, I'm sure he'd nail bass and crappie just as well as trout. And he's big enough you can throw like a, they fish really good on like behind a spinning rod with some split shot. I typically fish them in the river that way because it's generally so windy by the rivers that it's easier to use a spinning rod. Barracuda, Dyna King. Oh, that's good tea. Cheers, everyone. Hopefully you all have a good New Year's. I really appreciate you hanging out with me with that. I'd like to do some more of these, so this will probably be our next fly we do. We're going to stick with this one for, I think, a day or two, because I want to get through a couple different variations on this one, because most people aren't really going to tie that traditional style anymore. They're going to tie some of the more modern styles. There's no downside against that. They're tying them that way for a reason, because that's the materials you can get, right? So we're going to go over some more modern stuff that's quick and easy, and you still have a really effective fly out of it. But yeah, I think this fly deserves a couple days of work, or a couple days of different variations. Yeah, I'm glad you joined in. Remember to drop a sub and like the stream there so you can find it again. I'd like to see you in next time, eh? Anyone with fox or coyote in their name is my kind of people. Yeah, I can go over the materials again quick. I just tossed most of them over here, so you're gonna need some whitetail. You can use mule deer. Whitetail spins just so much better because it's more hollow. It's softer. Any form of whitetail though you can use fine. You can even use the hair from the butt of if you just have a bucktail. The base of the bucktail is soft enough that you can spin it. It doesn't spin as nice, but you can definitely do it. So whitetail bucktail or regular bucktail or whitetail patch, which is generally anywhere on the side of the deer or the back. You typically, for this pattern anyway, you would not want to necessarily use belly, unless you have dyed belly, which I have some here. I can show you quick. This is a dyed belly strip. Nice big one, and he's dyed like an olive brown. Beautiful patch. I've got this one just for doing mice, which we need to do. That's another fun one to do. But you could get a nice big primo belly strip like that. But any deer hair you have kicking around will work. Those are just the ones that'll make the life a little easier on you. For squirrel, the gray squirrel works the best. That's the traditional color for it. It's a little bit less slippy than the red, so it's a little easier to handle, typically a little longer for the most part. So it works good for the sizes 6 and up. If you're going to be tying a bigger hook like this, you probably want to use gray squirrel. If you don't have gray squirrel, you can use calf tail, you can use bucktail, anything you could really tie in for an underwing would be fine. If you don't have turkey, molted turkey like that, kick my camera. If you don't have molted turkey like that, which you probably don't, and if you do, you're lucky, you can use the wing feathers from a pheasant hen, so the female pheasant, not the male pheasant. You can use male pheasant too, they're just a lot darker. If you're going to use male pheasant, it's just going to be a lot, well, pheasant color, right? It's going to be a lot darker feathers. If you have grouse, you could use grouse feathers as well if you're tying on a smaller size, like 10s or 12s. The grouse wing feathers work okay for that. They have that kind of same mottled gray-brown look to them. Barring that, as far as the tinsel goes for the body, just regular gold Christmas mylar tinsel is what we're going to be using tomorrow. This is just the gold mylar tinsel that you get from the, well, I got the pack right here. Just dollar store bag of tinsel for $1, and they got like a lifetime supply for $1. If you have any uni tinsel or just regular fly tying tinsel, that'll work fine too. If you don't have any uni French, which is the corded stuff, you can just use regular fly tying tinsel. Even if it's on the thinner side, you can just make more wraps. You could do like wrap there, wrap, or wrap there, wrap back, wrap there. So do like three passes just to make sure you cover everything. If you don't have uni French, you can use a copper wire. If you have some thicker copper, you can use some gold embroidery thread or some yellow embroidery thread. Yeah, they all have different textures. Like the more you substitute, the more you're gonna move away from the basic pattern. But these things are all work fine for you. You can use some uni floss. That's like flex floss, which is basically just rubber band. This would work fine for the rib after you do the body and the M word with the stuff. This. Why can't I think of the word? I want to say monochrome, but that's not right. Anyway, you guys know what I'm talking about. But yeah, if you don't have the uni French, which is this stuff, this is the more modern. So uni French medium in gold, which is basically just a gold thread that's thicker and more oval shaped than round. You can go to any craft store or sewing store will have this stuff, which is a little bit on the thinner side, but it'll still work perfectly fine. It's just a gold thread. You can get one of these spools will last you a long time. I think there's like 200 meters on there. So those are all really good, easy to get substitute options. Now you can use a lot of people like to use a hollow body. You can use some of the more modern patterns use a flattened gold braid to go through, and it leaves it almost like a holographic look, where it gives it the same segmented body look, but it just makes it kind of rougher and makes it more look like fish scales. But the whole point is that you're throwing light in different angles, right, to attract the fish. So you can see how that light really shines off the bottom in different angles when I'm spinning it. That's what you're going for. So as long as you can achieve that with whatever materials you're tying on there, you got the body handled. Anything you can tie a quill wing with that's long enough. Obviously turkey is going to have the most length and give you the most options for the bigger hooks. But if you got smaller feathers, just size your hook down. Get like a 10, 12, what have you, and just go at it. Once you get the size right and you get your materials together, just sit down and tie like a dozen of these. And your first ones are gonna be horrible, and tails are gonna be all over the place. Everything's gonna be squished. You're gonna probably bald one side of your head like you've never cut someone's hair before. You're gonna make some mistakes. That's fine. After you get about 12 of them done, they'll start looking like muddlers. And all those little battles that you win along the way, they're gonna just make you a better tire. And then after you've done 2 dozen and 3 dozen and 4 dozen, you'll be able to whip these out with some confidence. And it's just a classic fly. Like if you're fly tying with other people, and you can you can tie up one of these. In my opinion, it shows a different level of skill than someone that can do like a really nice perdigon or something. It's just completely different skill set that's kind of lost. So yeah, hopefully everyone enjoyed that. I kind of went on a bit of a rant there at the end, but just want to give my spiel. Hopefully you guys have a wonderful day and have a good New Year's if we don't see you. Thanks kindly. Everyone have a good night, eh?